All right, guys, good evening.
Here. See how it's coming through. Will, you can go ahead and get in now. You were just a little bit early. I hadn't clicked the button yet. I brought it up, but I hadn't clicked the button. My bad. My bad. There you go. Now it's working. I should be able to see the tickets. All right, so I will jump right in. I'm checking the delay. It's funny. The delay is like, I don't know, 8 to 10 seconds, I'd say, over on the Twitch side, and then it is typically a little bit more over on YouTube. But actually tonight they're like within like 2 seconds of each other. It's pretty interesting. Um, it's not normally that close, but hey, I'm not going to complain. It's like right there. All right, so looking at day today, we just had New Zealand news. I don't know if you guys saw it or not. I can drag it up. I don't know if you guys saw it earlier today. Wait, where is it? There you go. There's basically the spike with New Zealand news, even though nothing moved. Again, that's why it's so important to hear what they are going to say. But it was already on. It was already on its way. You guys can see for the last couple hours it's been bouncing. Earlier today we were approaching this level right in this zone right here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Well, I guess you can't necessarily see it on this one. Let's see. Let me change this to like red. There was this zone sitting right here, guys, and we were talking about it approaching earlier. Ernest and I were talking back and forth, and I said I don't think I would be willing to take a short there because we just came off a higher level demand. I'll show you guys later where it was bouncing off of, and again, when that high, that high level there is where we don't want to mess with it, and that's what happened. And it ended up coming back, and again, whenever things spike forward, we're always looking for a pullback. And this, I mean, honestly, textbook. I mean, literally, it came back, and then hour, and then boom, news all the way up and came almost all the way back over the top on the daily or on the hourly. So pretty crazy moves are in store, right? So overall for the day, as I mentioned before, we started off early in the morning. Forecast for preliminary GDP came in, quarter over quarter, came in exactly as expected. The month over month came in better than expected, but manufacturing went down a little bit. So that's typically that's a little bit interesting. I mean, manufacturing was still there. It was better than it was previously, but again, previously was adjusted not as bad as they thought it was. So actually, not bad numbers for the pound. And you saw today, again, up 51 and then up 59. That is, in relation to kind of what happened over here, the lasting effects of this better GDP and better manufacturing numbers. And then we got into our speeches, speech one, speech two, or I guess testimony, speech, all the way through. And then we just had New Zealand cash rate. And then again, pretty much what happened in the policy statement because there was no change. The policy statement is what led this one higher. I haven't read it. I didn't have necessarily time to read it, but yeah, be interesting to see. Now, big question is, right now we have the New Zealand, like the press conference, and that's where like the surprise questions come from. Uh, this is going to be the big thing. So they may ask for some clarification because obviously the market was surprised. Okay, obviously they were surprised. Let's see if they dive in on that a little bit more and see what they have to say. A lot of times when the market does get surprised, people want clarification, and it's kind of like, hey, what happened? We'll see if that's what the case is. But again, may get a huge spike. This thing may come collapsing right back down again, like almost instantaneously. So we will see how that one turns out. All right, but besides that for the day, more or less flat, right? I mean, euro dollar 4, right? I mean, again, some of that is kind of peeling back right now, but not very big. Dollar yen 3. I mean, basically, you know, double a spread, right? Double a spread. We saw that dollar Swiss came down a little bit, dollar CAD came down a little bit today. Aussie dollar went up a little bit. 21. Excuse me. Your pound went down slightly as well. And again, that's the pound strength that we saw here, and then again a little bit over here. So we'll see. Wasn't again without major news releases after this morning, I didn't expect there to be too much. Like I said, a lot of speeches. Speech are kind of they're up in the air. It's going to be a very technical day to follow. So even news-wise down here, you can kind of see that here's the New Zealand monetary policy statements. It remains, and then going into the hottest news, what people are watching the most. Again, debating here. PAL, T-bill purchases, repo ops. Again, Interesting things. Interest remain relatively low for the foreseeable future. That's pretty interesting. Again, meaning that they're going to try to get that economy, really jump started. Um, that's not bad. And that's it really with the news. So really nothing. I mean, again, there's not a whole lot. I saw something earlier about the coronavirus and talking about decoupling, but you can see, oh, it's probably this thing. Um, and no, I mean, yeah, I love this. It could have an impact on phase one deal with China. It's like probably because China's going to be hurting because nobody wants anything Chinese. This is what I was talking about earlier. The coronavirus outbreak will speed up the U.S.-China decoupling more than the trade war did. Okay, which is true because I mean, again, they're basically this was like worst case scenario for them. They could play hardball and be like, yeah, we don't need the U.S. We'll just keep jacking these things up. Other people want our stuff, but now nobody wants their stuff, and there's no travel, and yeah, they kind of get the legs cut out from under them. So this is probably something worth reading if you guys get a chance. Check that out. So going into tomorrow. All right, tomorrow morning, again, we have more testimony, and then we have crude oil inventories. We'll check out crude oil tonight. We'll see where it's at. You can see that the forecast is expected to be about what the previous was, right at that 3.1 number versus the 3.4. And then the rest of the day is nothing but talks again. New Zealand, Aussie, and CAD. Excuse me. Ugh. I didn't have any coffee today. It's one of those days where I was like, I'm just going to drink some tea today. Wasn't feeling it, and now I'm paying for it majorly. It's 9 o'clock, and I'm like, yeah, I feel like it's like 11. But again, a lot of talks tomorrow night. This is the week of talks. I'm telling you, everybody wants to talk this week. If you're not talking, you're nobody this week. I feel like that's what the case is. Like every country speaking, it's like I feel like I need to go find some place to speak or something. But that's all. Like I said, I think the biggest thing tomorrow morning is going to be crude oil. And we'll see what else we can, get as far as technical changes go in the markets. But that's, I mean, obviously, crude oil is always a big one for us. All right, going down into Scannerland, we'll see what we got here. You can see Scannerland in a lot of the majors. We have a lot more setups. Like this is actually not a bad scanner reading tonight. We've had some funky ones lately, right? Particularly with the euro, and then the CAD was all kind of weird, and then the Aussie was all kind of weird, and people have been funky. But looking at the majors, we have consolidation in the dollar yen, and again, it moved 3 pips today, so we're not really surprised there. Dollar CAD was negative today, so again, that's giving us that uptrend setup. We'll see what we have going on there. Pound dollar, New Zealand dollar, Aussie dollar, and Euro dollar all downtrend setup. I'm actually kind of surprised the New Zealand dollar is not, in like an anchor break situation, but we may actually be pretty close to that one. We'll see. I'm kind of surprised that one's not that high. And then dollar Swiss is just giving us down consolidation. So it moved down, but nothing, crazily big or anything. Looking at the euro basket, we're getting a lot of confirmation signals here. So we have uptrend setup, downtrend setup, and a downtrend setup down here with the euro yen. And everything else is a continuation pattern to the downside, right? Sideways down confirmed, showing us that European weakness. So we'll see any type of a kickback. Again, the European currency pairs are going to run into demand zones, and that's when we got to start looking for some type of a flip and see what we have going on. But pretty interesting across the board versus the Aussie, the Swiss, the pound, and the New Zealand. All of these are showing weakness, right? All of these are showing weakness. And again, little pullback, but for the most part, it's basically weakness across the board for the European Union. And again, not just on the daily, 4 hour and the 1 hour. So it's not even like, it's not even close. We're not even close to looking for a setup situation here because it's just red across the board, red across the board, red across the board, red across the board, and basically red across the board. So yeah, pretty interesting. And again, this is uptrend setup here, the Euro CAD, but 4 hours downtrend confirmed. So these two, I mean, could we potentially be getting an anchor break on the Euro CAD? I think maybe it may be there. We'll have to see how close it is. Look at the Canadian basket. Canadian basket has given us, basically kind of similar, kind of mixed. Two consolidation patterns, and then Euro CAD up, dollar CAD up, uptrend setup. So again, these are pulling back what they're supposed to be doing in lower time frames. Versus New Zealand and the pound again, when then we're given downtrend. So again, they're kind of back and forth. Right now, this is like a middle of the road currency, right? Kind of between the three consolidations and then kind of the again, they're all in a secondary position, but uptrend setup, downtrend setup, and again consolidation. So I'm curious if these two are all just flattening out with the CAD basket. Oil will have a bit of an effect on that one. Now in the Aussie basket, Aussie was funky yesterday. I'm going to say it was yesterday. But again, consolidation, and again, this is coronavirus, right? Downtrend setup versus the dollar, and Aussie New Zealand, anchor break to the downside. And again, that is confirmed across the lower time frames as well. This is what I think we're going to have the Euro CAD doing over here. This up with the X is what I think is going to happen. Okay, I think that's what we're going to do back and forth. Um, and then again, that may move into consolidation. Looking at the pound basket, again, consolidation, 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 down, and then two downtrend setups inside of the pound versus the dollar as well as the Canadian, right? Um, and again, kind of a mixed bag, right? We saw some strength, and again, that's the pound dollar and the pound yen, and that's what's given us the setups, right? But we're going to get consolidation on the pound yen again. This because it's not hard to have consolidation when you're stacked inside of some large candles, and that's what we kind of had. And now we're just stuck inside of them. And again, consolidation, consolidation, consolidation. What are you going to say, right? Just going more or less going sideways. The other one we have downtrend set up and then up, up. Actually, there was just one in the consolidation. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, again, 50 and 59. It's you know not quite half its ATR, right? It's a little bit under, and then I guess it's a little bit over and then a little bit under between these two currency pairs. And again, you saw some over here as well. But for the most part, everything was much smaller. You know, not as much as the excitement as we would like. All right, but again, a lot of things are kind of like I said, looking at the scanner, getting a big overview like this. For me, I'm looking at this Euro basket. There's too much everything going in one direction. When you see that, the first thing you got to think of is, okay, what's happening, right? Are we going to be hitting an area of demand where we need to be getting back into the market and buying and going long? That's kind of what we're looking for, right? So that's definitely something to watch out for. All right, so we'll check that out. With that said, let's go over and jump into the charts. All right, here was that pair we were looking at earlier. Let's see. Let's start off with the Aussies. Now, Aussies is mostly in consolidation, like we mentioned before. Let's start over here with this guy. Okay. Now where we were last night. Let's see. Actually, let me update. Let's get this thing some data back in. All right, so we had a little bit of a zone here, and you can see that on the 4 hour we did kind of pull up and then pulled back down again to that 1 to 3, and then it continued to drive higher and go through. So this was a trade setup, I believe, was what, last night. Yeah. Oh, it's like super early. Actually, it was early. It was this morning. Yeah, it's this morning at 8 a.m. So again, came up and ended up triggering off this 4 hour zone, and then I'm coming back down and ended up grabbing this little area, and then obviously at that point, we have to take it off. So that was a successful trade setup from last night. Looking at where we are now, again, we had that one little zone there that was a nice little base and a nice rally off of it. Now, I mean, we've had to push up, and let me zoom out just a little bit. Looking to see what's next, the indicator is not telling us we have anything till up top. I mean, we have a little bit here that's not bad. We have a little bit of a gap. This is obviously a bit of a descending kind of level here. Nothing crazy. Let's see what we got on the 1 hour, see if we have anything better. Still think we'd wait till we get up to that zone. Yeah, I mean, we have two different zones. We have an aggressive zone, and then we have a more conservative zone that we'd be willing to take something off of. Again, we are in an uptrend setup. We're looking for a pullback area. Not the best one. I mean, this is a little one here. It got front run for this little bit here. And this is just nothing great kind of sitting in that area. So at this point, I think I'd be more waiting for, basically to get up to this zone, or if you're going to take the higher one up. Those are about the only two things I have going for this right now. Look at Aussie, New Zealand. You can see that, yeah, look at that. Bam, right to the bottom. And again, last night this got super, super close. 2 o'clock in the morning. It almost made it to our entry and got front run. And yeah, and then all the way right back down again. I don't think we could have gotten into this one any sooner. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you could have taken it off this lower zone, but that's where the test was. It was close. It was super close. I don't think anything was marking it off. No, it was just the manual one that we did last night. You can see, look at that. Not a bad little run from that peak. It's about 98 pips to the downside. So analysis was right. Just missed our entry on it by just a little tiny bit. I don't know if any of you guys saw that one. But yeah, that's where we were. So where we are right now, and again, a lot of this is obviously a news-based spike. Looking on the 4 hour, I would be thinking some type of a reversal in this one. Yes, something they said shot this thing to the downside and brought a bunch of weakness in. But because nothing has necessarily changed right now, it's just kind of the assumption of that there will be changes going forward. Again, we may be looking for longs off this position soon. Well, we want to make sure we get some type of a confirmation, make sure that this is the bottom. This is one zone, and again, its initial spike went pretty deep into it. Again, that would have been the target, the overall target of where we would be looking for based off of this zone. So again, you're going to look for any type of confirmation. It could be this zone. This zone is not the best. It may come even farther down here. We'll see where it eventually stops. Let's see on 30 minute is a better zone. You guys can see how close it was here. Not really. I mean, this zone's not horrible, but I mean, again, you got to look to the left. And it's kind of this formation here. So, I don't know. I'd be looking for some type of reversal on this one, but again, I'd probably wait for a confirmation. I probably won't be up when the confirmation actually does come in. But look, see if you can get a green, red, green off of one of these lower zones. It could be this one. Like I said, it could be this one. Yeah, that one finally got it breached the bottom, so that one removed itself. But like I said, here's the actual 4-hour zone that it's sitting in. So anywhere inside of this zone, if it comes back out the top, I'd be looking for this thing to retrace back up again. And that retracement is about 65 pips worth. So not a bad little retracement to the top side if you're able to grab it. Looking at Aussie Yen, okay, you're able to see this one pulling up. Let's stack it with some more data. Still not all the way back up again. Again, we kind of hit this level of basing here. And again, not my favorite because of this red candle, the second one was actually higher than the first, so we don't necessarily want to take that one. Still got a bit to go on this. We're waiting this to go about another 22 pips. It should do it probably this evening if it continues to drive higher. I would be looking to take a short off of that one. Again, the red box is the more aggressive entry. The blue line and the white box up here, they would be a little bit more of a conservative entry if you wanted to go just a bit farther. This is a pair that you can trade in Nadex. The only thing that would potentially move this tomorrow, obviously, would be PAL speaking. It'll have a little movement based off of what the stock market does in oil, but for the most part, I think PAL speaking is probably the best opportunity that we have for this one to give us a bunch of movement. So again, it is an 8x tradable pair, but you're going to run out of time more than anything else. I mean, low speaks tomorrow night at 7 p.m. That would be the only kind of true major catalyst that we have in the way. So I think this would probably be better to take it in the spot currency realm if we can get up into. And again, this is your risky entry, or riskier entry, and this is your more conservative entry. So both of them are not bad levels, by the way, that this kind of took out. On the 1 hour, can we refine it at all? Yeah, you could probably move it up to here. That's probably your best little bet. It's already been tested once, and it's got another zone on top, and that's 74.27 to 74.38, so about 11 pips. Not a bad little, risk to reward. And I'm okay. We're at the 1 to 3 right now. Looks good for me where it's planted. I guess especially if we start to base here and then go higher, that's a good spot. And actually, that 1 to 5 is also in a good spot. So either of those two, as far as exits go, I am good for both of those. Looking at Aussie CAD, let's give this one some. So you can see we came off a higher level demand zone. So there's another ones we don't necessarily want to get. We don't want to get in the way. We're not trying to snag it in the middle. We only want like the highest quality zone. That one is okay. Let's see. Got here. What do we got? So this is also going to be one of the ones that's a little bit more of an aggressive entry. Would be this one right here. Okay, there is a zone definitely above. That's what it ran into and came lower. But again, the way that this one formed up, went basically the rally, the base sideways, and then the immediate collapse, and then kind of the retest up, and this failure, and this again three highs to the downside. Not a bad little spot. You can see little areas like this have hit and come back down to grab more orders. And again, this is the last real big obstacle until we get up top. So for me, be looking at something along those lines. And again, I got to see what the base looks like on the way up. But right now, the 1 to 3 and the 1 to 5 is in a great spot. It's before demand on this lower side. We'll see if another demand zone forms in here. But right now, that's not in a bad spot whatsoever. For some reason, if this was the spike up, it's a pretty nice little run back to the downside. So on this one, you're looking to take in about 28 pips or 45 pips. So not a bad little trade setup for the Aussie CAD. Aussie Swiss. Let's see. Again, Aussie Swiss did the same thing. Forward into demand zone, came up and grabbed some orders here, and is making another push higher. So you can see that this one has been wedged kind of back and forth. It's hit this level and pushed back down again, and did put a lower low in. So we'll see if it's going to turn and flip. It's about an 18 pip risk, but the zone is only zone's about 50, so it's not quite a 3-to-1. Pretty close. It's right there, but again, I would say right now on the daily, you can see that it pushed up, it pulled back down again, so it's kind of more on the upside. And again, it's giving us a downtrend setup, but it's already hit a zone and pushed lower, and was unable to go lower to the bottom side. So I think this one is going to make another push higher. And again, the gap may be the area to grab on this one. Yeah, here it is on the hourly. I think we mentioned this last night. If you're looking to take this hourly, this was actually not a bad level, by the way, that it's a lower high and then kind of just continues to fold. So, not horrible. If this is the pair that you like to do, again, the spread gets really, really low at night. It's only one right now. It fluctuates between 1 and 2. You can get some decent trade setups in this one as well. Looking at Aussie Singapore. Let's load data into this one. This one kind of the same thing. It pushed higher and then came back again. Let's see, how much are we talking here? Oops. It's only about 15 pips. We'll see if what this is able to do. If this is able to come up. This was a nice little turning. I mean, it slowed all this down, pulled back down, kind of went over again, and we'll see where this new low is. If you're looking to take some type of a short in this position, again, I don't think that's a bad one. I'm okay with the 1-to-3, the 1-to-5. I think on this one is a little bit risky. Again, it's a little bit deep into that zone. It's about 60% of the way through, so may want to be a bit cautious with that one. I think the 1-to-3 is the way to go. If you want to put a 1-to-4 in there for that one is not bad. 1-to-4 obviously puts you kind of sitting in this range. It's not a bad place to be, right? It's putting you in front of the opposing supplies or demand zone. That's not too bad off that level. All right. So that is the Aussie pairs. Let's go and do the Canadian pairs. All right. So this one totally just, for lack of a better word, it crapped out on us. It's like rally up, rally up, rally up. Yes, you broke through. Keep going. It pulled back a little bit and then got stuck and then kind of went down. So now we're kind of in the sideways little channel here. It's like wah, wah, wah. I was like, yes, rally, rally, rally. And even on the daily, you're seeing that it's starting to really slow, get these wicks, and it didn't really run into too much. But man, it's just like starting to conk out. It's like, oh, look at that. It's like so close. We're like right there. It's like, just go, grab it, grab it. And then it just did this. So I think this one is probably running out of gas. We'll see what it can grab on the bottom side for buyers and see if it can push any higher. But for right now, I don't think there's enough in CAD Swiss to be able to trade it. All right, so CAD Yen did actually come up and hit our zone and drop lower. I'll load some data into this one. You guys can see this is one of the ones that I think we had set up last night as well. Again, multiple opportunities on the 4-hour, but we came up and then kind of went all the way back down again on the lower time frame. You can see what it actually ran into. It hit, came all the way back down, and is now rallying back up again. So this one definitely was in the 3-to-1 realm. Yeah, there you go. See, this one actually not only hit, but took your 1-to-3 and your 1-to-5 out. That occurred. That triggered at 10 o'clock this morning in this pair. And again, we talked about the zone last night. It was tested right here. Right? This was the test saying, okay, listen, there are definitely sellers up here. And then that's what happened right here. Popped up at 10 o'clock this morning, tagged that zone, and then collapsed all the way down in one candle. So in less than an hour, you were out in this one. The total grab on this one would have been only about 18. Again, smaller time frame, smaller zone, smaller risk. But again, when it's that small, you can typically take twice the position size. So not a bad little trade. Yeah, it's only about 6 pips risk on that one, 5-6 pips risk. So again, you end up with twice the position size, make some decent money off that one. Right now, again, it's driving back up again. Yeah, it's probably okay. I mean, it's about, let me see. It's about 30% of the way through the zone, so it's not a crazy pierce, and it didn't spend much time there. So this is probably good for one more shot if you guys are looking to take shorts. You can probably grab another one off that zone. So, and again, this is a perfect example of why position sizing is so important. Some people are so focused. Oh, we made 1,000 pips or 2,500 pips this month. Okay, great. How much risk did you take? Were you taking it with mini lots? Were you taking it with standard lots? What were you doing? I had somebody send me it was funny. I had somebody send me a trade setup earlier today. They're like, hey, does this look good? Would you take this trade? And basically it was 3 profit targets. One was like 20 away, one was 30 away, and one was like whether 40 or 50 away, but it had a 100 pip stop loss on it. And I was like, no, no. I'm like, you're risking 100 pips to make 20 or 30 or 50. And I was like, okay. So at best case scenario, if all three trigger your hope, that puts you at a 1-to-1. But I mean, any of the other ones, it's like, oh, what are you? I'm like, no. This is why position sizing is important. You can say, hey, this is very small. It's only 18 pips. Who cares? If you're only risking 6 pips, you can take 2 standard lots. It's $20 each pip. This is a $300 trade. It was less than an hour worth of work today. You know. So again, that's why position sizing is so vitally important in learning how to trade. Okay. So that's our Canadian pairs. So let's go into the Swiss pairs. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Swiss pairs. Let's see. Let's pull some data back on this one. This one I wanted to go a bit lower and it didn't. Unfortunately, I was like, hey, listen, figure out you're going to go down, you're going to go up, and this one had some issues. And again, you can see on the 4 hour, I mean, I can stretch it and make it look really exciting, but it's really not. It's kind of today we were in a range of, I mean, about 60, but again, where's the trend? What's the trend doing right now? In here you can see we're pulling back. We didn't hit the zone, so it turned. But what is it doing? Is it grabbing more to make a final attempt through? Is it pushing down? What is it doing? And that's kind of what we're dealing with. Nothing really super clean in here, and look how much time it's spent here. A little pop up, a little pop down, and a little pop back up again, but more or less sideways movement. So not too much we can do with this as a Swiss pair. Like I said, I don't trade the Swiss that much. I don't really focus on it. But again, for chartable purposes, we look at it to see if you guys can learn, the candlestick patterns and anything else. I mean, if it's there, great. This is not horrible, but for me, for right now, there's nothing to really trade on that one. Looking at the euro. Now, the euro basket, if you guys remember, let me drag this back over. Whoops. Hold on. Let me drag this back over. Guys, remember, this European basket was pretty interesting. Everything was either in a confirmation or a setup type position. So let's see what we have in here. Let's not start on the Singapore. Let's start with this guy. All right, so on the daily, okay, you can see that we are really, really driving down. And if we take our top and bottom, right, this one started kind of in the upper quadrant. Like last week we were up here, we would be considered high in the curve. We were looking to kind of get short, right? And what did it do? All the way back down again, right? So drop into the 4 hour, okay, you can kind of see we have a similar situation. Now, hasn't been many re-entry opportunities in this one because basically when it moves, and then just kind of, goes sideways, right? It's dropping, it's going sideways, and then it's dropping. It's not really giving us many pullbacks. We had a little one here, although not really the best zone that it was trying to pull from. This is a lot of basing, and again, it's driving down. It's in a little bit of an area here. We're about to approach another gap area, and then again, we have a demand zone right below it. So we have about 60 pips before we run into the zone on the 4 hour. Looking at this one on the hourly, you can see as well, you can see the distance here. That's where that 60 pips comes from. And again, the only thing I'd watch out for in this one as far as taking it as a short is there's a gap, right? You got that one little gap right here that we're definitely going to have to watch out for, and that's about halfway through. Now, great zones. This is not a bad zone, like I mentioned before, if we were able to get entry into it. Again, it's one solid candle, so out of the market, but we don't really have anything in here that I would say, hey, listen, if price gets there, take this short. Okay, we're starting to get a little bit extended in this one, as you can see on the 4 hour. I mean, this one is pushed all the way down, pulled back with this way, and then all the way back down again. And we're starting to get back into low areas. So, there's still a little bit more room for this one to run, but I would have to say on the lower time frames, I'm definitely starting to get a little bit more, hesitant. We're getting into areas where we're starting to find some demand. I do wish that we could come up, like this is not horrible, right? This is pulled away. That may be an area for something kind of short, if we can get a little bit of a spike. But I was really hoping to get a little bit better basing and a little bit better. I mean, the exit this area is nice. I wish the entry was a little bit better. If it kind of fell down and went sideways versus this just rather slow and then fall. But again, this would be considered a minor zone right here, okay, if you're looking to get into something. There, okay. Not a horrible little kind of pop. And then, again, that could be another one of these little bounces because, again, there was an area right there as well. I hate this not function. That was another little entry as well. And again, it's those type of pullbacks that we're looking to be able to continue this trend to the downside. Okay, so those are two possibles. This is probably the closest one that's sitting there. And again, find the numbers on yours. On mine, we're looking at 162.50 to 162.59. So little 9-pip zone, nothing too crazy. All right. So that is Euro Aussie, Euro CAD. EuroCAD, again, you can see in the 4 hour right now, we're approaching a demand zone. And again, this is what I mentioned before. when I see everything straight down here, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for demand zones to figure out, okay, when is this going to stop? And again, this is right there. It's super close on the daily, right? We're right there, right on top of it. Looking at the 4 hour, you can see the 4 hour is actually approaching a zone. And again, this is actually part of this prior zone. And again, you can see that there's definitely something down here near this teal line, forcing things back up. And the first time we hit this, it popped and probably went to 1-to-1. So again, showing me that we're starting to get to the extensions on this one, right? We're running into the area of, and look at this, boom, boom, and then it's having issues again. So Eurocat, in my eyes, is actually in an area where we're starting to look for longs, right? Have not gotten really any type of good confirmation out of it. There's a little bit of one here, but again, you want it to really kind of get into the zone, not graze the top to be able to get that confirmation. At that point, it's already moved too far. But yeah, I mean, if you had set this up, I mean, even from that bounce, which I would not have taken that bounce, you got about 3/4 of the way back up on that one. All right. Now, the reason why I haven't taken the bounce, guys, is it is coming back down. This is acting as a target. Again, we're looking for this one to kind of give us some type of confirmation that it's about to turn and it's going to flip or break. It's either going to break through or be a base, right? One of those two. Once we have that establishment, then we can start looking for longs. It's not just going to be a blind one. Not off something like an hourly. I mean, like I said, on the 4 hour, you can see we're hitting it here. And then as well, the daily is running into it as well. So everything in Eurocat is telling me that it's time to start shifting our focus, start thinking about how to change this one around. And again, looking at this one on the curve on the daily, yeah, it's very low on the curve. So again, we should be looking for longs on that one as well. Looking at Euro Swiss, Euro Swiss is obviously low on the curve as well. There's your daily. And you can see, bam, look at that. There is your daily demand zone. So again, same situation, okay? Different pair, same situation, pulling down on a daily. Let's see what we got on a 4 hour. 4 hour can't see it again. I think it's been some time since we've come back to this one. So, I don't think we're going to see it on the end of the other pairs as well. On this one, again, same situation. I don't know if any of you guys trade Euro Swiss, but again, you got to be, you got to respect the fact that we are sitting in a demand zone. So that's two separate pairs that are in demand looking to go long. Euro pound. So Euro pound today was down. I guess now we're down 29, right? You guys can see that it did push back down on the daily. Not a really huge candle. On the 4 hour, this is what we had going on, right? This is that wick over wick we talked about last night. Unfortunately, it never got back up to that zone. It just kind of did this base and then one candle, basically two candles down, right? Most of the movement happened here. It pulled back up and kind of came back down. So really nothing on the 4 that you could have been, able to get into it. Here's what it looked like on the hourly. Even if you were waiting for that little spike candle, again, you would not have got into it. And literally, it's this one spike and then boom. So in 4 hours, you were finished. Where it spiked to is exactly where we're at right now, and it ran out of steam. So, looking for places to go long in this one, I think it's going to have to be a bit lower. We're getting into the gap. The gap has already been tested one time. It filled on its first candle, and we know that there's buyers sitting down there. So, we got about, let's see, got about 22 pips before we can get to that area. That's absolutely something that we can have in an overnight. It definitely can reach that. And again, with with European and pound, banks, central banks not speaking tomorrow, I think we're probably okay. We'll see how this one trades technically. Even on the 30-minute, you guys can see there was really, I guess there was a very, very minor pullback that you could have taken here. That would have occurred about 6 o'clock in the morning, right? Again, nice push off, but again, 6 o'clock in the morning, you had one little opportunity, and let's see. Yeah, you're talking about like a 6 pip, basically a 6 pip zone. Right now the ATR is 4, so a 6 pip one, it would be a valid zone on that one. And you guys can see there's your 1 to 3 and your 1 to 5. Okay, it would have been fine. Let's see, I'll make this a little bit. All right. Change it on me. Yeah, change it off. Change it inside the thing. All right, so that's what we got going on here, right? That one. All right, so it wants me to keep it right there. Not going to move it. Right now, again, like I said, I think this one needs to come a little bit lower. Looking on the 30-minute, we got a bit to run on this one. On the hourly, kind of the same thing. We got to get back down to this loan. We got to get back down to this 83.99-ish area, 84-ish area before we start looking for some longs. But I think we'll be able to get down there tonight. Looking at euro yen. Euro yen, kind of similar situation. You guys can see here it is pushing. It's giving us a little bit of a kind of a pullback. Euro yen is listed as a downtrend setup, and again, downtrend giving us a green. Drop down to a 4 hour. Is there a great zone there? It's all right. I'd like this formation, although I'd like the green if it was a bit closer. Um, here was, I mean, this here, this is the green's a bit big there, but again, this would have been your entry, right, into there and then down. But again, that green's a bit big. It would have been better if the green was flat. That's really what I would have liked. Right now, again, any type of short is going to be a bit dangerous. We know that there's a zone right below setup. Be cautious that because we are going to the downside into demand. So on this lower time frame, let's get the more data. You can see it's been forever since price is down here, so it's hard. We're not going to pull any levels on this. We have this zone that we've marked off as larger time frame demand. It's about 99 pips away, so it's a ways away. But right now, you guys can see on the hourly, basically just sideways movement. Really nothing that we can trade. I mean, I'll try to make it explosive, and again, down, up, it's in the same exact spot, right? So actually, I guess last night we were here, and it rallied up. It came down at, let's see, that one's off on this one. Time is off on that one. Reset this one. Time is off on this one, but you guys get the idea. Okay, again, very, very much sideways movement today. Trend, no trade. Okay. Euro New Zealand. Obviously, you guys are not surprised with this one with the New Zealand. Everything is just going to the downside. Again, looking on the daily, you guys can see there was your daily supply. It came back up, and then again, obviously this is today. That was yesterday, and this is where we were on Friday. Again, I don't know if you guys were taking this one. This one has had quite a movement since that time. It's 273 pips to the downside, particularly on the daily. And again, very clean level. Again, it started back here. So there was multiple ways. I mean, you could have got into it here and you could have got into it here, but it's basically retraced all the way back. On the 4 hour, you guys can see where we are dropping. You'll see we started the slow. And again, we are in a level of basing. This is not a great zone, predominantly because it's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Got over 10 candles sitting in a base here. So it was not a quick kind of pause and then launch to the top side. This is also a lot. I mean, if it was a big candle like this in here, I like it better, but I'm not a huge fan of that one. So I still think we need to wait until this one comes back down into this 167.03 area. Looking at it for an hourly, again, you can see hourly we are running into a very, very tiny demand zone. It's in here. Again, it was tested, but like I said, it's a very, very, very small zone. Had just a minor test, and below it, there's really nothing to support it. So I'd be very, very surprised if this would be the bottom turning point. Like I said, it's showing it right now, but that would be kind of a weak area, and that would actually be driven by something else, not this pair, because it's not. Like I said, this is a huge zone, and on the lower time frames, you can see that there's not really anything there. A little bit. So we'll see if this pushes and bounces off of that on the 1 hour. But again, huge movement down. I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow if this starts to rally back up again. Okay. Let's see. Pull this one. All right, so you guys can see here on the daily, sitting in that demand zone still. On the 4 hour, you can see that again, we kind of bounced off of that 4 hour demand zone, have now rallied higher, and that's probably a 2-to-1 at this point. And the 1 hour, okay, you guys can see the 1 hour. Is there any trend today? Not really, right? Not really. Yeah, nothing great in this one. Again, no side. This is up 4 pips in 24 hours, so nothing tradable on the euro. But again, important to understand that daily we're sitting in demand zone, and 4 hour we're sitting in a demand zone. We actually just came off of it. So this is the 4th or 5th pair now that they're all sitting inside of demand, and that typically tells you that, hey, listen, all these pairs matched up against their partners are getting in an area where buyers are stepping in. And that's a pretty common sign that, hey, listen, there's probably going to be strength coming back in the euro here. All right. So that would be euro dollar. And then looking at euro Singapore, you can see this one is just literally heading straight back down again. And this one had an okay day. It wasn't as big as some of the other days. It was only about 44 pips to the downside. You guys can see there's a little bit of kind of could have snagged a minor entry, right? But besides that, it just kind of tumbled to the side and really didn't do much today. Here's our six. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We stayed more or less inside of this range, which was basically a 16 pip range. So again, really just no volatility whatsoever inside of the European pair. All right, going over the pound. So pound, obviously, pound dollar up 48, pound yen up 51, and then it drove the euro pound down 28 for the day. So again, a bit of strength in this one. We'll start off with this big guy. And again, still kind of wedged inside of the same sideways channel. Dropping on the 4-hour. You can see it was more or less just a slow grind to the top side. We did have that one zone that was put in yesterday. But again, this is 4 hours, so count them back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We were basically here. We just kind of went up, and there's nothing to stop it. Again, no clean zones, and I said that was the problem with this one is it has gotten smaller again. Here's a lower bottom or a higher bottom pivot, and again, we'll see where this one turns. Right, we're starting to get to this side as well. It's just consolidation, right? Currently, right now on the scanner, this one is listed as consolidation sideways up, and then the 4-hour and the 1-hour both listed as sideways up confirmed. And again, that's that's what we got. I can see it there, and kind of the same situation here. Now we are getting close to an area that is not horrible. I don't like it because it just spent forever there, but at least it's given us something. Okay, none of it. This pop, none of these other pops are registering. This pop is actually registering because of the exit. So it shows us that there was some force driving this back down again. That may give us the opportunity to kind of take a little bit of a breather in this one, rallying up and kind of pop us back to the downside. That area right now is currently about 25 pips away, so it's absolutely attainable. And again, if you're looking to play the kind of counter trend trade to this one, this is where your setup would be. Based off of where these projections are, the 1 to 3 is not in a horrible area. I'd like it to be a little bit higher, but it's not bad. I mean, I wouldn't say that's an explosive pop. It's probably not too bad. And then the 1 to 5 is, it's not bad. It's a little bit below this kind of clearing spike to the downside. So, not ideal, but, it's not the end of the world. I've definitely seen worse 1 to 5s in that one, but the 1 to 3 is actually not in a bad area if it does not base and suddenly just pop. Okay, if you have it base and then it's a pop, it may be a little bit harder to get this low. But again, this would be an entry target for tomorrow. And again, set an alert. Okay, go to the bottom, click view, add the dashboard at the bottom, add alert, and put yourself right in front of the zone. It's the best way to do it. Have it shoot it right to your phone, email, whatever you want to do. It's the best way to play this one, and just wait. Looking at pound CAD. So pound CAD, you can see, is definitely consolidating in. It's forming a wedge on that one. A little bit of a pullback, but again, very small body, lots of wicks, so a lot of indecision on that one. You can see on the 4-hour, I mean, we came down and again, it put in a higher low and a lower high. So consolidating for the pound CAD, nothing exciting with that. Pound dollar, you can see a pound dollar. We are approaching an area of demand as well. Again, this one is pulling back up. Looks very, very similar to the pound yen right now. And again, those two have been kind of a lockstep. 4-hour, not as clean. Not a whole lot of entry on this one, but on the 1-hour, you definitely can see we have a zone sitting above where we are. Now, this zone here, this one is pretty aggressive. It's about 22 pips, so it does line up with the pound yen, where we need about 20 to 25 pips before we get into that zone. But it is kind of sitting in between this range. This one is higher. We do know that it was a zone prior. It did show us that there was orders, although a little bit pretty deep in there. This one, I would say this would be a B. This one is probably like a B, just a flat B. This is probably like an A minus between the two different zones. But, and I say but, this one at least coincides with the pound yen being about 22 to 25 pips away. Okay, so if they both rally in lockstep, and again, I'll bring forex factor in. You guys can see they are in lockstep, up 50, up 54. So they're pretty close, right? With them being so closely linked right now, I think they will both be inside of a supply zone at about the same time. That could be, again, see where they are, and then again, take which one seems like it makes the most sense for you. Down Aussie. Again, this one is approaching a zone. Here. It says uptrend setup, but it's actually, once it goes down here, it's split on the daily. That's on the weekly. Yeah, how's that for consolidation? Look at that. This was front run on the bottom side, front run on the top side, front run on the bottom side. This one is purely consolidating in. Yeah, look, it couldn't even clear that. Yeah, pound Aussie is going to get real small right now. For the increased spread, it's not worth trading that one tonight. Let's see what we got. Pound Singapore, same situation, at least on the hourly. We are sitting again. It's definitely put a kind of a lid on this one, right? Again, we keep butting into the same zone. We came up, we pulled back down again, and again, I've smacked the bottom side a few times, but for overall purposes, it's pretty much held. And again, you got to see where we're at in a short pattern. I definitely think this one will, I think this one will flip if we don't hear anything tomorrow about coronavirus and we're spreading or anything else. I think we're starting to run out of news. People are, the news today it was more like, hey, listen, this will work as a decoupling. It's not talking about people dying and stuff like that. So I think we will have some. I think this one will run out of steam and continue to push the downside. Ooh, let's see. Yeah, this one is. You guys can see how pinched together this one is. So again, pound Swiss kind of the same as what we saw in the pound Aussie, not a whole lot there. And then obviously the pound New Zealand. You guys can see this drove all the way back down into a zone. Let's see. Still high on the curve on this one, so this one may not be horrible, although pulled back too. It's been a lot of time sideways, and then boom, one candle back down again on the 4-hour and ran right into a demand zone. Is now turning and flipping. Kind of the same situation on this one, all the way back down again. Right before the demand zone, it stopped and turned, and actually that demand zone is probably off. We should have drawn it to there. So it still got front run, but again, it's a little bit off. Spread on this one too. It's 19. Let me see something here. All right, so we still no confirmation yet. That's what I was trying to see if we were getting a confirmation. We had a pause and a push down, and now we'll see what type of, if we're able to get some type of a confirmation. Let's see. It's a 15 pip move on that one. Right here. It's 19. Bounce off of. Let me see here. No, I don't like that candle. I was hoping there was a zone sitting on top that just got breached. And then I was going to look on the lower time frame to see if we would have a red, green, red, kind of one of those confirmations coming out of that zone, but we don't. This clearing wick right here, I was hoping that there, again, like I said, I was hoping there'd be a nice little base above that, or even a wick over wick that was kind of hidden that the indicator was not grabbing, but it didn't do it to the downside. So wishful thinking, but it didn't work out. And that was pound New Zealand, yeah. All right, so let's go down to New Zealand itself. Obviously, we already know what's going to happen. There's going to be lots of movement on this one. So you guys can see this again. We came back down again, ended up hitting the same exact zone. Again, I mentioned earlier, we were sitting inside of a larger time frame demand. There was that one little zone. There was one sitting kind of over in, actually, it's the lower time frame, not this one. But again, when it came off, it came up. Again, here's what I'm talking about, guys. We hit a zone, we pull up, and then it comes back, and it uses that as the springboard, right? So had you taken this short from here in any of these candles, had you taken it short, your target's back down here, right? But when we first hit the zone is not when we necessarily go in. We want to make sure we have a confirmation. This one gave it to us, right? Spiked in here, gave us the red, or gave us the green, the red, and the red came back and tested the zone, gave us some white space. And then again, this becomes our risk, and that was the end result. This one is quite a large trade. 105 pips on that one. Looking at it on the hourly, you can see that it was approaching this zone in here, right, earlier today. And I mentioned I don't think I would go short. I didn't necessarily want to short this position because of what we came off of. We came off a demand zone, so on the higher time frame on the daily. So again, to me, it was saying, okay, listen, this is a reversal. It's already bounced off of it. It came back, it retested it, respected it, and now it's going higher. And again, if you would have taken this one, I think you would have been okay today. But like I said, I don't. It's when you start messing with the trend reversals is where you get burned. I mean, this one did hit its 1 to 3 and it's 1 to 5, right? So nice placement on it, but overall, I'd have much been thinking that, hey, listen, let's wait for a pullback, grab that pullback, and go long. But again, this just shows you on lower time frames there are moves inside of moves that you can take. Okay, and that's just
Actually, I guess the zone would have been okay there. So if you got in, you were good for a 1 to 5 on the backside, but I was waiting for this one to go long. And you guys can see what it's doing now. It came all the way up and is now bouncing off of this on the 30-minute. And again, this one is nice. This one's much cleaner than some of the other ones. The other ones are turning a little bit early. But again, this is what I expect to see, running into zone, stopping and turning and flipping. And again, you can see it on the hourly as well. And again, the hourly, you guys can see it's something along those lines. There's your 1 to 3, your 1 to 5. This one obviously goes much, much farther than that to the downside. So again, you can trail this one to the down. It will most likely be something similar to this, where it'll kind of retrace its way back down. But yeah, that's welcome to news trading. This one's got some room to run on the hourly. Let's see on the daily. And you guys can see a huge spike up on this one. 4 hour, same thing. But again, no great zones in here. Too many wicks. This one's got a lot of room to run. I think it'll probably run into something minor here, and then start the flip to retrace back. Yeah, it's already started to kind of push back. Didn't even get into anything that is really noteworthy up here. Let me see on the 30-minute. 30-minute, you can see that it tags something. Yeah, 30 minutes the only one that, again, it's the first one that was able to really grab. Question is the indicator check time. Yeah, it grabbed these, but again, this one I definitely wouldn't have done. Pierced all the way through. This one, not bad, although it gave you another entry. So this is 1, 2, and then 3 is what burst through. So not too bad. That one didn't do horrible. All right, that's New Zealand CAD. Let's see, New Zealand Swiss. Same thing, popping up at that level right now. Again, this is a 4 hour, not a daily, but this one is a 4 hour zone, right? A large pop and then hitting that 4 hour zone. Yeah, that's not bad. Let's see, how much is this? It's not bad. It's a 9 pip. That's a 9 pip risk. Okay, so that's a large spike. Again, your 1 to 3 and your 1 to 5 are both clear to the downside for New Zealand Swiss. Entry would be at 63.10 to 63.20. So 10 pip risk on that one to the downside. It's pushed up and it has pulled back slightly, so you have a little tiny bit more risk in there. But for the most part, you should be okay to the downside on a spike. It's been an hour, so the speech should be over at this point. So this is probably setting up to be, somewhat of a reversal trade to the downside. Again, obviously not a Nadex based pair. This is something you'd probably have to hold a little bit longer to take back to the downside. All right. That's the Swiss, and let's go to New Zealand dollar. Again, you guys can see it pop up in a range. Didn't quite get as high. Got stuck in this little bit here. Curious to see what it break. Oops, not that. I'm not. I don't really. I like some of the other ones a little bit better on that one. So let's see what we got for the dollar. Singapore is continuing to bounce off that level to the downside, right? On the 4 hour, let's see, could you've gotten any pullbacks? No, not really. It's just continuing to kind of turn. Ernest is probably kicking himself even more now. So this one is now up 81 from Friday. And actually, Ernest, you got into it, but you didn't get back into it, right? That's what it was, right? You didn't get back into it. So you got into it here, and then when it popped up, I think he got out here. He didn't get back into it on the spike. So yeah, I think he's missing about 75 pips on that one. Yeah, is that one just running win again? Still bearish. The Singapore CAD kind of was all over the place on the 30-minute. I was hoping that we get a spike, but we didn't. As you guys can see here, is on the daily. It came back up into that daily zone. There was the 4 hour. You guys can see it right there. We'd set that one up last night. There was the actual trade, so I guess we didn't actually make it up on the spike. Yeah, not much we can do about that one. Actually, I think we talked about this one both sides, waiting for the spike. No, I don't have that. You know what? I probably did that with Carl. Oh yeah, that was me. I feel like it just won. I feel like Will just won Pip Chip Salty. Yeah, exactly. So This was an interesting bounce to the bottom side. So let me move this back. Actually, I just take it off. Had you guys played this off of this one again? We talked about it being tested. Oh man, I missed it again. There you go. So again, your 1 to 3 became a valid target. Came down, grabbed this zone, came back up again on the 1 hour. On the 30-minute, same thing. Yeah, you could refine a zone a little bit, but yeah, the 1 hour is the best one. Again, top and bottom targets when you're sitting in the middle. That's the best place to grab it is when you get a spike top or down. And again, hit the bottom, came back up, grabbed your 1 to 3, and is now pushing back down to the same entry. This is probably not a bad place for an entry. Now let's see. Again, we should be looking for shorts at this point. We just came off this zone to the downside. We're looking at any type of a pullback, but again, not really much to grab here as far as pullbacks go. Even on the hourly, there's not a lot there, but this is not a bad area. I mean, right here, it was front run and literally spiked all the way down, touched it, and went all the way back up again. Here, same thing. It spiked down, barely touched the zone, and shot back up again. So there's something magical going on in this little area right here. There may be something to potentially take off of that. I would like it more towards where we have news, not necessarily in an overnight situation, but something's happening with this area, so this could be a potential long for you at 132.76 to 132.69. So not a huge zone. You're only talking about 7 pips. And your 1 to 3 isn't in a horrible place. It's not bad. I would have liked it before this pop, but it's not bad. It's below this, this little bit here. All right, so that is all those. Did I do your Swiss? Yeah, this one we wanted this one to go higher and it didn't. It didn't get that high yet. So still in the waiting phase for this one. All right, so let's go over to oil. See what we got going in the oil realm. All right, let's see. All right, so there was our trigger down here. So obviously it did bounce off a demand zone down here at 49.46. Let's see. That zone. All right, so number 4 broke. Actually, it was number 5, right? 1, 2, 3. Kind of 4. It's either 4 or 5. 4 or 5 finally broke through this little gap zone. So again, that one is blown. Next zone up here we'll be looking for sells is at 51.10 to 51.46. So we're what? We're at 50.80 right now. So it's only about 30 cents away. So I think this one will actually probably drive up overnight and get there before the news tomorrow morning. This is going to be one of those ones to watch. Let's see where we are first thing in the morning before the actual news release happens. I think this will actually pop up, and the question is, will it maintain its level here, or will it potentially kind of eat the orders up because it's in the overnight and then go to a higher level? On the 4 hour, we got a little bit up top on the 4 hour. The 1 hour is really giving us kind of the best kind of show of what's there. And like I said, this was a larger time frame zone that we bounced off of. We got real close to it. On the 30-minute, you can see this one's about to disappear. And again, I wouldn't have used that one the way that this was drawn. Probably there's on top of each other. I'd probably use either one would actually work. If you want to take something in the overnight, again, this is a zone that you could potentially take right here. Again, it was tested here and it shot the buyers away. They literally touched the bottom and then kind of shot them to the downside. So, there's a potential short in the overnight. Like I said, I would like to see this one, what it looks like before the inventory report tomorrow. I want to see if it drives itself up into that zone and holds. Excuse me, or potentially pushes it back down again before him. I'll jump down to the 30-minute and see if we're rallying, what we're close to, and what the zone looks like before the release. That's going to be the best way to handle this one. But overnight, if you wanted to set something, set it off the hourly. Take a short, look to do something along those lines. Okay. And again, we're not super far from that right now. We're about 30 cents before the entry. And again, tomorrow morning before news release, it can definitely drop, a buck. Not even a buck, actually. Oh, yeah, it would be a buck to the downside. Yeah, we go from 51.12 to 50.13. So, yeah, you're looking about, a dollar drop. All right. It burns a few people. Yeah, I'm sure some people got in that one. All right, let's see. Look at gold. And gold had like a crazy drop today to the downside. Put a new base in at least. Again, high on the curve, right? On the 4 hour, again, you guys can see that there's high quality zones top and bottom. We didn't really see, besides today we just saw a little bit of a move. We didn't see a crazy kind of large spike. Looking on the hourly though, it is much, much worse. You know, Actually, I guess it was on the 30-minute. You can see it. Yeah, this is quite a big move in a very short period of time. Hour and a half, this thing went from what 1573 all the way down to 1562 in like an hour and a half. But then obviously it ran into some buyers. Not really a great area. Like I said, it grabbed an area back here that was violated. So I mean, here is the original zone, and that's what it bounced off of. This went deep, this one pierced. So I wouldn't have put a lot of validity in this one. I would not have caught a long off of this one. That zone, as far as my purposes go, was blown up. These two deep, this one pierced, and this one's kind of like, you know. So right now, there's been some lower time frame shorts off of this one, but nothing really that I would be like, hey, that's awesome, grab that one, right? Let's see what we got on the lower time frame on it. Yeah, you can see what it's bouncing off of. So again, didn't quite make its 1 to 3 to the downside, but there was a short on the 15-minute on that one, about an hour and a half ago. Okay, so that could be a morning one. As that, another push up, right? Hour. You can see we're kind of doing one of these little jobbies right now. Okay, so I was looking for a great little pullback zone. Nothing really great, but the way this is forming right now, it looks like it wants to become bearish, at least in the overnight. Dropping it down to an hourly. Not even a really great entry. I was sitting if there's a failure to go higher, but not so much in this one right now. Even on the 30-minute, no, you wouldn't have grabbed anything. Looking at the Dow. So again, we had this demand zone. We did not make it up. Okay, I was hoping because everything else is rallying, we'd get an entry into this top one. I actually had an alert set for this one. We did not get into it. We kind of stopped, turned, and kind of went down. So you guys can see this one is not making those all-time highs. It is pulling back. It is having a harder time. It actually spent a lot of time sideways today. I was hoping we get more, but we didn't get the rally. So for me, I'm still waiting for the upper level. This one, it's not bad. If we open up the morning there, that's probably not a bad place to take a short. But again, I think I think the top is a better entry. But like I said, this is probably worth a short if you're going to get into it first thing in the morning. And then looking at the S&P, you can see S&P is much more similar to the Nasdaq, right? Rally up, just a little bit of a push. On the 4-hour, you can see that again, kind of went over, pull lights. Only thing I like about this one is we have this lower low, right? We have a low here, and then we have a lower low. If we get one more lower low, this is looking like this one's getting into short position as well. Low. We got lower highs and we got one lower low. And again, if we start to turn to the downside, that would be another one. Again, would kind of signify to me that this is probably going to go down in the overnight, which would kind of make sense of what we're looking for with the Dow as well. Okay. Would have been bad if this is a little higher, but it was there. It was there. But we're only talking about going from 37.60 down to 33.61. So only talking about a 9-point move. Nothing too exciting in the indices. So like I said, I think crude oil is the big one to watch. Like I said, I think this 51.12 is going to be a big number. We'll see what we can do in the overnight. You may want to set an alert. You could set a limit order if you wanted to take in this one. And again, make sure your position is flat before news, or obviously just getting into a position. Again, you can trade this with Nadex tomorrow morning. Inventory right now, like I said, is expected to be 3.1 mil. It was 3.4 last time. So we'll see. Like I said, with people basically not going to China and all these companies like halting trade there, I'm curious to see if this one is already inflated because of news or if they're not factoring that news into it whatsoever. But again, if we are sitting in this area, I do like this one short to the downside. I'd like to come back down below 50, and I think we get there. All right. So that is everything. Let's go ahead and give you guys your pip tips for the evening. A lot of you people have not gotten into it yet tonight. I know. The current strategy is to try to be the last one in before I do it, but eventually, I don't know. The other day it was like there was a top and a bottom. I think Sean won that one with the top and the bottom. So there's different philosophies on this one. So I will give you guys I'll give you guys like I'll do it to 106.
Let's see. What am I looking for? Oh, I know. This. The other thing too, guys, if you're not in the store, remember the Pip Chip shirts are up now. I think you can do it. Is it? Yeah, I actually lowered the sweatshirt prices on them, guys. So you can get your Pip Chip sweatshirts for 35, and you can do the regular just logo Keep Trading Simple ones as well. The Pip Chip one, actually, I added a new color. I added this color that's not bad. I think the red is probably still going to be my favorite. The red or the gray, I think are my two favorites. I think the gray for this one. Yeah, so we still have these up. And again, the way you get to that, just go down below Twitch and it just says you can do the shop now. Um, Also get a size big. If you are a large, make sure you get an extra large. They are definitely a little bit on the small side. Okay. All right, so 25 more seconds, and then we will call it for the evening. Here. Hold on. I got to type something real quick. Oop, I spelled it wrong. It helps when you spell it correctly, right? There you go. All right, so I'm going to see if that works. So see, I just put it in, guys. Let's see. I'm going to close the giveaway, and let's see. Ready? Winner is? Oh, look at that. Oh, oh, Josh was the first loser last night, right? Wasn't he the first loser last night? And he was like, wait a second, I saw I won something, but then I realized that I didn't win something. So that's interesting. It was Josh last night, right? Oh, Josh would be quite happy again. Right? But wasn't he the first loser last night? I swear he was the first loser last night. And I was like, oh, watch this. Because they made the joke about, like, oh, God, if that was Will, we'll never hear the end of it. But it wasn't Will. See, it's fixed. So Ernest, so your opinion is that it already has an order picked out. Is that what it is? Unfortunately, I can't, because I closed it, I can't do the second drawing. But so, yeah, he won the fake chips. Well, he won the real ones tonight. And like I said, you saw me do it. I even tried to kind of sneak in there and kind of snag it at the last little bit, but I was unable to do it. I tried. I tried to get in there and steal it with my test account, but I didn't. It didn't work. I know. Ernest is like, you know that like I feel like I don't know. Ryan needs to come back. I need some memes. I need Ryan to basically give me one of like a little girl that's like hoarding all the potato chips, and that's like Ernest with the pip chips. He's like, all the pip chips are mine. No, it's fixed if I don't win. I don't know, but now I'm curious because, like I said, does that mean that Josh should have won two in a row, or was it foreshadowing because he didn't get pip chips? Does the first loser is the first loser at the highest priority to win the next one? Curious to see how that works, right? Curious. So, yeah, I don't know. All right, guys. With that being said, I am out of here, guys. It is 10 after 10. We're not quite as long tonight. Definitely check that oil number tomorrow morning. I think that's going to be a good one. I know you guys have been killing it with oil. Again, Nadex and oil, you guys are just that, they're going to basically shut us off and be like, hey, you guys keep trading simple. You're not allowed to trade Nadex oil anymore because you're making too much money. So keep it up, guys. I want to see some profits tomorrow morning with that one. Check it out, and I'll be trading it as well. And I will see you guys tomorrow.